This is the book of Second Ezra, chapter 16. I'm gonna begin at verse 18, and it reads: "The beginning of sorrows and great mourning, the beginning of famine and great death, the beginning of wars, and the power shall stand in the fear, the beginning of evils. What shall I do when these evils shall come?" Verse 19: "Behold, famine and plague, tribulation and anguish are sent as scourges for amendment. But for all these things they shall not turn from their wickedness, nor be always mindful of the scourges. Behold, victuals shall be a Slaki. Behold, victuals shall be so good cheap upon earth that they shall think themselves to be in good case. And even then shall evils grow upon earth, sword, famine, and great confusion." Verse 22: "For many of them that dwell upon the earth shall perish of famine, and the other that escape the hunger shall the sword destroy." I want to start off by giving all praises, all honor, and all glory to God, Loyam, Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Kodash Barakatham. I say double honors to my apostles, the elders of the great millstone who teach and do rule well. Peace and salutations to the Akim across the four corners of the earth, pushing his truth with faith and with sincerity, as well as risking their lives and the freedom to do so, now more so than ever. Shalom to the Akwab, as well as the Akim out there listening and learning. Lord willingly, this is edifying. Shalom to the Israelite foreigners scattered abroad in the land of other nations, appearing like the other nations, but whom subscribe to this truth. To you I say shalom. This is the brother Yahweh Sop out of the GMS Cleveland Church, fellow servant, coming at you with another lesson through the Spirit and through the power of Yahweh Shemel Shai. So I started with the second Ezra because I came across this article. I forgot where I heard somebody made mention of it. Might have been a brother, might have been some news report I was listening to. But nonetheless, they was talking about how Somalia is on the verge of starvation. I'm pretty sure that's not the only country. I'm going to delve into more research, but it just sparked, because, it sparked, the spirit just sparked in me to do a lesson on this because, the thing is, I remember when you had the beginning of the Russian-Ukraine war, and then they were going into how, Ukraine and Russia basically are the bread baskets of the world, and how because of the war that has stopped, a lot of wheat production, basically to the point they was talking about only had so many months of wheat left. But then in the midst of the fighting and whatnot, I guess they made Russia or Putin may agree to go back to producing more bread because it's so spiritual because people thinking that it's really man behind this, but it's really the Most High. Putin has been saber rattling about nuclear weapons and the nuclear arsenal, but prior to the Ukraine war, literally he and I believe a few other nations basically had went into a confederacy, saying how they would never use nuclear weapons. And I swear it was like maybe a couple of weeks later, that's when he invaded Ukraine. So it's ultimately Yahweh Shemiah Shah working on the minds of these men, or the angels. Is ultimately Yahweh Shemiah Shah through the angels working on the minds of these men, to do what they're doing, because ultimately it's going to fulfill the will of Yahweh Bashem Yahushua. When you go into the scriptures, it talks about, I believe in the book of Sirach, about all things being to the will of Yahweh Bashem Yahushua. I believe it's Sirach chapter 18. So, it says the beginning of sorrows and great mourning, the beginning of famine and great death. And the worst way to die is by starving to death. That's mentioned in the book of Lamentations chapter 4. It's better to die by the sword than to die of hunger. And it goes into how he said visuals shall be so good cheap. And right now people think they're in a good case because you can still find food relatively cheap, but you can't though. You got a lot of brothers, I've listened to a few brothers, and some brothers, it's ultimately budgeting, but it's not though. Some people don't qualify for certain things because of their lot, their household income. Having the pride of this place, because this is a place that likes to look down on the next person. Especially Jake. I was just speaking on that, but I heard somebody make mention of it. The pride of this place is ultimately is what going to make the Most High judge it. Where is that at anyway? I think it's might be Second Ezra chapter 15. Lock it. Bear with me for a second because I do want to get it. Second Ezra chapter 15. This book of Second Ezra 15 and verse 18. For because of their pride, the city shall be troubled, the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. Because at the end of the day, these people are lofty. Again, I was going into the pride. At the end of the day, people, having better jobs and a better income. But now, because of inflation, that's not ultimately, you working twice as hard, or your money's working twice as hard because you about to pay for everything. When you on a subsidized income, usually you got the government kind of helping you out. But like I said, like people that receive food stamps, those that, them $100,000 salaries, they not getting no food stamps. And, they already made it known that people that's living in the income brackets, Slovakia, those people that are in those income brackets are living paycheck to paycheck. And then we got basically a great layoff coming. You already was going through the great resignation. Now you about to have this great layoff. You know what I mean? So, I just did a video about that yesterday in Isaiah 19 and verse 15. I believe it says there will be no work for Babylon. So this place through, no work for Egypt, Slovakia, no work for Egypt, which, this place is synonymous with Babylon and Egypt, So I'm gonna bring out a little bit of this article because I'm not trying to switch it up. Basically, it's about, the times we coming in, and that's why, what was that, Second Ezra goes into, like I said, behold, famine and plague, tribulation and anguish are sent as scourges for amendment. But these people are so proud, they're not going to change their ways. Even 2/3 of the Most High's own people are so stuck in their own ways, but the Most High programmed them that way to basically be, they were, what's that in, I forgot what it is, somewhere in Second Ezra we talking about, basically they were made basically to be destroyed. So I'm gonna bring out a little bit of this because at the end of the day, this is, yes, they're talking about this is gonna affect Somalia pretty soon, but at the same time, this is gonna affect everything. You know what I mean? Because again, you got so many things happening, and you've had all these different nations, the farmers of our nation. We'll talk about, the shortage or how the crops didn't come out right. They were paid to euthanize and sell farms, and just, this thing is going to be bigger than what, those that don't believe or realize, Salakia, bigger than those that don't believe realize. So this says Somalia is on the verge of famine while the world looks away. And it reads, famine will hit parts of Somalia between October and December. So October's next month, So they're saying within the next 3 months, between October and the next 3 months. And it's actually going to affect not just Somalia, but, hell, it's happening here now. You got people that, what's they call, the food insecurity because of the inflation. That's why you got more and more people depending on, food banks and whatnot. And they just waiting for that to, like, when that crumbles, oh, yeah, people they're going to lose their fucking minds. A person being able to eat but not have any money, they might go ahead and, that might keep that person from doing something desperate or stupid. They're still fed. That's why the government paid, all those people rents, the rent moratorium. Because just imagine if people were just stuck with a situation where they had to go fend for themselves. I just found out through the brother from Men of Valor, the elder brother Atazawan, that Fun with Dick and Jane is actually based on a true story. So out of desperation, a guy that had a good job, I think he was supposed to he was supposed to be something that would be paid very well. He basically had to resort to robbing banks. You know what I mean? It reads, that was the verdict of Martin Griffiths, the UN humanitarian chief who spoke to reporters from Mogadishu, the war-torn, drought-ravaged Horn of Africa's nation's capital. I've been shocked to my core these past few days by the level of pain and suffering we see so many Somalians enduring. Griffiths said Monday, famine is at the door, and today we are receiving a final warning. So, I'm going to probably read this last paragraph, and that's why that Second Ezra 16 brought everything so out there. Because the scriptures prophesy about a time of great mourning, tribulation, And it's not just going to be in one area, one place. You know, you got people in America that's suffering right now. You know, and if America is tied to all these other countries based on that petrodollar, when this petrodollar finally cracks, it's going to affect everybody. You know, you don't think the Russians are being affected right now? They're in a state of war. You don't think the Ukrainians are being affected right now? They're in a state of war. You know, you already know the Moabites or Chinese, they're being affected. Shit, they just basically was protesting about their money and getting their ass whooped by the government. So yeah, I mean, yeah, real serious things are happening, taking place. The Lord is working. You know, the scriptures talk about in the book of Psalms 119 and 126, for the Lord to work, because they have made void thy law. It's time for thee to work, because they have made void thy law. These people don't believe in the Lord. You know, definitely not actually implementing or following the law, statutes, and commandments. You know, if that was the case, this homosexuality wouldn't be so rampant as the way it is. As this world goes down, you see how flamboyant and basically how they uplifting that. This place is over with. More than 7.1 million people, roughly half of Somalia's population, which is going to come to America, which is already affecting certain people. Because like I said, you already got food insecurity. You got people that's missing meals. And they're talking about with the cost of inflation, you have a lot of mothers that are missing their meals to feed their children. You have brothers not being affected by this. But we all will be affected in some way by this was about to take place. It reads, are in need of food assistance. Out of every 5 children in the country will face deadly forms of malnutrition by October should current conditions remain. 4 failed rainy seasons have plunged the region into its worst drought in more than 4 decades. And it said 4 seasons. So for the last 4 years, this place has literally basically went without rain. So the crops ain't growing correctly. And then, you know, it makes you think about the, over there, what was that, the Euphrates River? I forgot what river that's drying up. The Mediterranean, one of the, Slovakia in my mind, in a lot of places. But I know they was just making mention within the last month or couple months about how basically one of those rivers or the Red Sea, something's drying up. Where basically that's preparing the way for, you know, the kings of the East and the war at Armageddon. It says 4 failed rainy seasons have plunged the region into its worst drought in more than 4 decades, prompting roughly 1 million people in Somalia to leave their homes and trudge through the arid countryside in search for food and aid. Their woes were compounded by events far from their reach, with the Russian invasion of Ukraine. And it's always something going back to this Russian invasion. You know what I mean? You know, but scriptures talk about wars and rumors of wars. Matthew chapter 24, causing a surge in global grain, fuel, and fertilizer prices that have impacted some of the world's poorest countries. And that's affecting, if it's affecting a country like America more than, you know, I mean, it's affecting these people. And we ain't even really saying nothing yet. It's affecting Europe. And so, of course, the poorer countries are being affected. I just was listening to the brother, I forgot who, I believe is Moff. Somebody was just making mention of, you know, you got certain countries that wasn't, no, it was the elder brother, Tazanwan. He was talking about how you got certain countries that wasn't with certain things because, you know, if your economy basically, I forgot what he was reading, but he was going into like an article where it was saying that, you know, countries with a strong economy, they'll be able to handle what's about to take place. With those with a weaker economy, won't. Like America. You know what I mean? Like America is not doing as good as you think. They just printing money right now. But why do you think we're seeing the effects of inflation currently right now? So, you know, you going into this is Ezekiel chapter 7, and it reads, more of the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, also thou son of man, thus saith the Lord Yahweh, power unto the land of Israel, the end is come upon the 4 corners of the land. Now is the end come upon thee, and I will send my anger upon thee, and will judge thee according to thy ways, and will recompense upon thee all thine abominations. Because this is going to affect Jake first and foremost. You know, it talks about in the scriptures a time of Jacob's trouble. You know, Esau is going to be affected by it. Everybody in America is going to be affected by it. But those, you know, who is considered the poor and needy? Jake. You Latino tribes, you Northern Kingdom tribes, you know, Gad, who's the so-called North American Indians. I just saw a lightning strike. That's the spirit called Loyam Layah Bashimal Shah. Made me think of the scripture in what's that, Psalms 18. The Lord thundered in the heavens. But anyhow, you North American Indians, so-called North American Indians are the tribe of Gad. You Issacharites, which are labeled the Mexicans. You Ephraimites, which are labeled Puerto Ricans. You got these different Israelites that are in a low state in America, and they're going to be affected by this the most. Verse 4. And mine eye shall not spare thee, neither will I have pity, but I will recompense thy ways upon thee, and thine abomination shall be in the midst of thee, and ye shall know that I am the Lord. Thus saith the Lord Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua, and evil and only evil, behold, is come, and end is come, the end is come, it watcheth for thee, behold, it is come. And that's a good chapter to go into, Ezekiel chapter 7. So the Lord going to bring this in because of the fact that the great pride, these devils, not just these devils, but 2/3 of our people as well. This is Isaiah chapter 13, verse 11. And I will punish the world for their evil and the wicked for their iniquity, and I will cause the arrogancy of the proud to cease and will lay low the haughtiness of the terrible. So again, it's all going back to what's that second Ezra chapter 15 about the pride of this place, the pride of these fucking people. 2/3 of our people have taken on the ways of Esau, Edom, and they're proud. I was listening to the brother, and you didn't take the time to think about it. When I sit back and really think about certain things, I was given grace to actually get this truth, but I don't have anything to be proud about. I used to bring up the fact when I was homeless, and I think a brother got rubbed the wrong way with it. But at the end of the day, that's the spirit. When I used to bring that up, that wasn't to make proud of it. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, it was the fact to show how low the Lord brought me. But this is second Isaiah chapter 2, and the point is verse 11. That's a spirit because I ain't never paid attention to 10. It says, enter into the rock. Who's that rock? Yahweh Shah Mashiach, and hide thee in the dust for fear of the Lord Yahweh and for the glory of his majesty. Verse 11, the lofty looks of man shall be humbled, and the haughtiness of men shall be bowed down, and the Lord Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua alone shall be exalted in that day. When you take time to read the scriptures and you see about the certain famines, because famines are mentioned throughout the scriptures from the old to the new, that's when pride would hide itself. It's a hell of a thing to see who people you love or you can't, no matter how much. I remember when I was homeless, I'm used to working. It's certain Jakes that never had a job. I know certain people like that, been able to make and live off of just being a nigga. I've witnessed this, so don't know really how to adapt to getting a job. And I've worked, but I'm applying to everything, even jobs that I shouldn't. When you got a trades or certain skills and you should be able to get a certain type of job. But the Lord steered me where he was steering me. Like I remember, long story short though, I couldn't get a job, to say, and I realized that now that was the Lord, because the Lord, whatever he takes you through is for your, it's basically to do something for you. Everything that you lose isn't a loss. That could be a blessing. I was thinking about my demon, and I always knew she was a demon, But then I would think like, well, damn, am I doing something? I supposed to leave? You know what I mean? Because I would walk away or actually be forced away. And then the Lord would put her back in my life. And she'd have, one of my seedlings or whatnot. And the amazing part is now I got my children. And I was like, well, damn, you know what I mean? Because, I used to trip on it, but it was always set up for me to, because, that's part of my life. I'm going to be one of them individuals that's going to be tested with my children and all. So, but scriptures talk about the Lord not tempting you more than you're able and always making a way for you to escape, especially if you trust in Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua. So like you for the digression, basically, again, because this place is, so proud, the Lord is going to bring it low. And the way the Lord, to see, when you can't feed yourself, you get put low. When people, with a beggar, that's even in the scriptures. It's a terrible, it's a miserable life to live house to house. To be homeless, that's a miserable life. And it should humble you. Me and her both was homeless, but I was humbled and she's still proud as ever. So, the Lord gonna destroy that that nigga woman. I almost called her nigga bitch, because at the end they, but we read the scripture, so our vocabulary should be way more vast than just, Curse words are curse words. We grown men, but at the same time, you should have a arsenal of words to use if you speaking this truth. Because, if you ain't growing even in speaking, like me myself, I don't like to speak often, but every once in a while, the Lord put a spirit on me, too. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, you got to grow. If it's, Salakia, though, it says, the lofty looks of man shall be humbled, and the haughtiness of men shall be bowed down, and the Lord Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua alone shall be exalted in that day. Because everyone will know, especially those that believe in Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua, will know that it was Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua that sustained them. Matter of fact, I'm going to end on this book of Psalms. Well, book of Proverbs chapter 18 talks about the Lord is a strong, the name of the Lord is a strong tower, and the righteous runneth to it. So I'm going to end with this Psalms 9 and verse 10. And they that know thy name will put their trust in thee, for thou, Lord, has not forsaken them that seek thee. I'm going to go start up Psalms 9 and 9. The Lord Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua also will be a refuge for the oppressed, a refuge in times of trouble. And we got times of trouble approaching. The scriptures talk about an evil day. I just read that in Ezekiel chapter 7. An evil going into a compound word meaning Eve, meaning time, and ill meaning bad. We coming into bad times. So it says the Lord also will be a refuge for the oppressed, the Lord Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua also will be a refuge for the oppressed, a refuge in times of trouble. Let's go into that word refuge real quick. Salakia here, because I am on my break and I'm trying to get this out before I gotta go back in. Salakia. It says high place, refuge, secure height, retreat, stronghold. And that's
Strong's 4869. Misgav.
So again, it says a stronghold. It says, verse 10, and they that know thy name will put their trust in thee, for thou, Lord Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua, have not forsaken thee. And they that know thy name will put their trust in thee, for thou, Lord Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua, has not forsaken them that seek thee. So in the times of trouble that's approaching, it talks about cursed be the man that trusteth in his own flesh. Cursed be the man that trusteth in man and put of his strength or put of his trust in his own flesh, roughly paraphrase. So you can't rely on your food that you got stocked up. Now, you won't be a fool or fool, we men, so you should be able to protect yourself and your loved ones, because the Lord will try you, you know what I mean? But ultimately, it's all automatically set up. If you got extra money and you see what they about to do with this dollar, wouldn't it make sense to have, something else that they hold some kind of value? If you got extra money, would it not make sense to buy a little extra? But as far as putting your trust and your faith in that's where the foolishness comes in. Because you might have a house full of food and then you put in a position you got to leave. You know what I'm saying? So, you trust in the Lord, how about you, Yahushua? Everything else, because if you trust in the Lord going to feed you. His brothers had dreams about the Lord feeding them. The brother Aaron from Men of Valor, I remember, said he had a dream. He did a testimony about it. So, So, if you a so-called Black, Hispanic, Native American, Seminole Indian, West Indian, or Haitian, I implore you to come back to the laws, statutes, commandments of your power. Yahweh Shem Yahushua, you will be destroyed. With that, I want to give all praises, all honor, and all glory to call Loyam, Yahweh Shem Yahushua, Shem, Thumb. And honors to my apostles, the elders, a great millstone, who teach and do rule well. Peace and salutations to the Akim across the four corners of the earth, pushing this truth with faith and with sincerity, as well as risking their lives and their freedom to do so, now more so than ever. Shalom to the Akwat and Yakim out to listen and learning. Lord willingly, this is edified. Shalom to the Israelite foreigners scattered abroad in the land of other nations, which appear like the other nations, but whom subscribe to this truth. To you, I say shalom. Till next time I'm able to come with another lesson, I want to say shalom, shalom. Mawath lababor, shalom.